another edition of Straight Talk. I know that we are all over the World Wide Web. We are reaching you in Africa. We are reaching you in Asia. We are reaching you in Europe. And we can reach you, a whole lot of you, all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can't say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And we always have first-timers, so I want to welcome all you first-timers to Straight Talk. And just to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process continue, or let's just strive, I should say, to get St. Kitts back to that enviable position we once held of being, if not the freest, one of the freest countries in the entire universe. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Talk family, on yet another occasion. And tonight, I want to present my short thesis, as I do on each program. And this episode, I have entitled my short dissertation, A Federation in Total Disarray. However, there are some housekeeping matters I would want to dispense of. Of course, we do our usual observations and review. But on a solemn note, I learnt of the passing of Dave Saunders of Keon, who we are told has gone to the great beyond. And we want to extend condolences to his brother. I'm not certain if his mother is still alive. Perhaps she is. If she is, we extend condolences to her as well. But to the entire family and to all those who have lost loved ones as well, we extend our condolences. And, you know, we can say anything, to be honest. But Jimmy Cliff put it in his way. He says, who feels it knows it. And all I can say, though, is that death is a process. And we want you to be strong. And we all know Dave. But death is what we all owe. And we all will one day appear before the judgment seat of Christ and may be recompensed for the things that we have done. But first, in consideration of our usual observations, as a matter of fact, I had a lecturer who used to always say to me, get up to date. And it has come to my attention here on Straight Talk that some manipulation was being done at the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court level. Because my Straight Talk family, for some 3 or 4 months, a judgment was delivered in the claim numbered SKB HCV 2023/0005 in the case with the disgraced Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, Garth Lucien Wilkin, in that case versus your humble servant, Ian Patches Liburd. And recall he tried to suppress my freedom of expression, and he lost badly because our Constitution guarantees that fundamental right. But one thing we observe, and I observe, is that the judgment was never posted on the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court website. And for the want of me, I could not understand why. Every other case is posted. Only to find, my Straight Talk family, that information reaching Straight Talk today revealed that Garth Lucien Wilkin was apparently even trying to manipulate the court system. And as I said, he tried to suppress freedom of expression. And he failed miserably. And I'm reliably informed that Garth Lucien Wilkin, our Attorney General, and I say disgraced Attorney General, for that matter, tried to impede, he tried to prevent the publication of the decision of the court, which clearly opined, the decision of the court clearly opined that Garth Lucien Wilkin broke the law. And we always provide the evidence. We don't talk loosely here on Straight Talk. Because if you look at the decision of Justice Tamara Gill, handed down on February the 16th, and I always point to section of paragraph 37 and paragraph 36 as well, are very important. But in paragraph 37, the judge opined that a social security payment after the time prescribed by the legislation constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. And it goes on. So there's no question that Garth Lucien Wilkin committed a criminal offense by his actions and his non-payment of the social security contributions for his nanny. So, my Straight Talk family, Garth Lucien Wilkin has obviously not accepted the judgment. And perhaps that's why he tried everything to impede the publication on the court's website. But he failed. He did not appeal the judgment. In fact, he submitted expeditiously a notice of discontinuance. But I can tell you tonight, my Straight Talk family, that justice and fairness has prevailed. And the judgment is back on the website. And I invite you all to go and read it. And you will understand why I called for the resignation of Garth Lucien Wilkin. And I called for an apology. You realize how he went into his bunkers. He was rather quiet for months. And all of a sudden, he has come out of his bunkers and he starts gaffing again, as the Guyanese would say. But again, I invite you to read the website at eccourt.org And you'll find that judgment in the case I just alluded to. And I will still posit the view that Garth Lucian Wilkin, on the basis of this judgment, has no integrity, he has lost all credibility, and he has no moral authority to continue as the Attorney General in this country, to continue as the Chief Legal Advisor, having broken the laws of this country. You see all over the world, Attorney Generals, Pakistan and Texas has been impeached. All over the Caribbean, lawyers have been sanctioned. And the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association has failed us as well in terms of sanctioning their former president and the current Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis. But more of that will come. But for now, I can tell you that the judgment is on the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court website as of today. Google that site and read it. Interesting reading. And you will concur that Garth Lucian Wilkin should not be the Attorney General in this country. My other observation tonight, my Straight Dog family, and our observations at the time is the time when we highlight the issues of the day and we do some reflection. We may then ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. Because on Straight Talk, it's all about an educational process, continuing professional development, continuing education as well. And our other observation, my Straight Dog family, I dare say that as a Kittian, I feel embarrassed by the deterioration within our health system and the direction in which it is being taken under the current Minister of Health and Prime Minister. I feel extremely embarrassed when we learn what is happening in the health system. And my Straight Dog family, in the 9 months since Dr. Drew assumed office, our health system, I'm sure you will agree, has taken such a nosedive. I am forced to ask the question, when will we be able to say once again that our federation's health is our federation's wealth? No time soon, I dare say, with a health minister like Dr. Drew. How, for example, can 15 hand-me-down dialysis machines redound to the benefit and care of our people and further to our dialysis program? How can it, my Straight Dog family? Impossible, I dare say.
Who is a professional, has also said that he will come to St. Kitts and Nevis and he will help us to expand our dialysis unit and to make sure that the necessary conditions are in place so that we can deliver good quality. He will also conduct a series of training for the staff that would need and require that type of training so that we can improve and advance the treatment of dialysis here for our people.
We know, my Straight Dog family, Dr. Drew has no political experience. We know also that he lacks experience in health management and has never worked in a hospital. Yes, he was an intern at the Joseph N. France Hospital and therefore took part in the clinical enrichment program. And that program is offered to all students who studied in Cuba for obvious reasons. But he never returned to the hospital after he left to undergo specialist training. Now, I don't know this Mr. Estridge. I know my family Gareth Payne. And I believe that these two gentlemen meant well when they sourced 15 dialysis machines from a health institution in Toronto. But with the greatest respect, my family, these machines, I'm told, are over 20 years old. There is a distinct possibility that bacteria and other contaminants may have built up in these machines. So why does Dr. Drew want to expose our already sick patients to further risk? Dr. Drew must stop playing politics with the health of our people. The money paid to ship these 15 dialysis machines, which are already gone long beyond their lifespan, could have been better spent on procuring one or two new machines to augment the inventory of new ones bought by the Team Unity administration a few years ago. Of course, it's like buying two new fire trucks. What is cheaper? It must be cheaper to buy 2 new fire trucks than to get 15 old fire trucks. Why do you want 15 over 20-year-old dialysis machines? Another question we ask, my straight dog family, is where is the MRI machine that Drew spoke so glowingly about when he even tried to own it, my straight dog family? Where is the dialysis machine we are asking Prime Minister Drew tonight? The dialysis machine was approved in the budget for 2022. It went to Parliament and got the approval.
Mr. Speaker, we intend to improve the services offered at all our health institutions and at the JNF in particular. And they, of course, will benefit from the $73.7 million that we have invested. What will this money do? We will provide new diagnostic services with the introduction of a new MRI machine to be installed at the JNF General Hospital for the first time. The necessary technical personnel for the efficient and effective operation of the MRI machine are all proposed for funding in 2022. So this then will be a significant transformation in the delivery of healthcare. Long in coming, but it is now will be there in 2022. Before us, it never was. Team Unity is now making it happen.
$73 million approved in the 2022 budget to get equipment, staff, to get an MRI, which Drew promised when he tried to claim it. It would be here in 90 days. Where is the MRI, Dr. Drew?
MRI machine sourced for JNF Hospital to provide easy and affordable access to residents.
Where is the MRI? We ask again, Prime Minister Drew. The MRI machine you promised, you will get it here to us in 90 days.
MRI machine sourced for JNF Hospital to provide easy and affordable access to residents.
But my Straight Talk family, Dr. Drew, Straight Talk has learned that the hospitals are also experiencing shortages as the government owes its suppliers. What is the true story? The Minister of Health must come and tell the nation. And finally, on the health system, my straight dog family. Dr. Drew, you have spoken quite a lot about constructing a new smart hospital. And we are asking you this question early. Are you going to follow the procurement guidelines? Or will you handpick Victor, Lennox, and others, and Peter, to design and build this facility? These are questions we are putting before you very early, my straight dog family. Our third observation, Dr. Joe is so disingenuous and he lies so much. Remember, he went on radio. He went on radio, my straight dog family, to vilify. He went on radio and he vilified an entrepreneur in this country. A hard-working man who started the security business when the service was needed most. And Drew said this about this hard-working man.
I also have on my desk a security firm. That security firm, I have the contract. They make millions of dollars per year. And that company, with the document, as owner by Heston Ham, is not only seen over the government headquarters, the hospital, but other areas. Yes, we see that one security firm, just from the hospital alone, is making millions of dollars.
My straight dog family, Ham's business grew from strength to strength, only to be victimized when Dr. Drew got into office, using his bully pulpit to spread lies about the young man Heston Ham, who employed over 80 persons, gave them a job, Labour, PAM, PLP, everybody. And I hold no brief for Heston Ham, but we must reward successful entrepreneurs in this country. Look at how Dr. Drew and the now disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin obliterated the business of another entrepreneur, Stasio Williams. Can Drew say to the country how the services being provided by disseminated and paid for by taxpayers in this country, how were these services procured? Can Dr. Drew or Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkins say that the proper procurement was done before hiring disseminated? Hell no, I will say. What about this fly-by-night company named WASP, W-A-S-P, which was engaged in February 2023 before unceremoniously ending the contract of Night Watch Security? Night Watch Security was contracted by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis with a termination date of March 2024. WASP, we are reliably informed, was engaged by the Drew Labour administration at a cost of 50% higher than Night Watch Security. And WASP was engaged in February 2023. Can Drew or AG Garth Lucian Wilkins say that the proper procurement was done before hiring WASP? Hell no. That is why the SKNIS published a request for proposals just a few days ago. No other security firm should submit any proposal, as WASP already got the job. Drew is a liar, but unfortunately, my straight dog family, he's our leader. Dr. Drew has no experience whatsoever and the direction in which he is taking this country. If we don't stop him on this journey, we will soon crash and burn. Drew reminds me of a village character called Drunken Albert, who always used to say, when you don't know where you are heading, any road will take you there. My other observation, my Straight Dog family, relates to the 8th of January 2015. A few weeks before the February 2015 elections, the Douglas Labour Party or Labour administration signed a groundwater exploration and delivery agreement. The other parties to the agreement were Bede LLC and Bede St. Kitts Limited, who were contracted to drill, develop, and make available for delivery and deliver to the government of St. Kitts distribution system groundwater located in bedrock aquifers not less than 400 feet below ground level. That's the agreement. The government of St. Kitts reserved the right to drill and to contract for drilling shallow aquifers of not more than 400 feet below ground level. Again, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis reserved the right to drill and to contract for drilling shallow aquifers of not more than 400 feet below ground level. To this date, my Stray Dog family, Bede LLC and Bede St. Kitts Limited has never satisfied its contractual arrangements. The contract price for delivery of 4 million gallons of water per day was worth $4 million. Bede LLC and Bede St. Kitts Limited were paid a mobilization of US $750,000 or just over 2 million EC dollars. In spite of its non-performance, in 2021, the government of St. Kitts Nevis signed a subsequent agreement with Bede for $6 million. Ain't that sounding fishy to you, my Straight Dog family?
The government only in December last year signed a contract for over $6 million with Bede LLC to undertake well drilling remediation in the Keyon and Basti areas. We are confident that a permanent solution to the water shortage which the good people of Keyon have endured over the years would soon be a thing of the past.
My Straight Dog family, that was 2021, 2 years ago. In August of 2022, manager and water engineer Cromwell Williams assured the nation that drilling would have started in a few weeks. This is what the manager said.
For water. Speaking of well drilling, we are moving along in that vein, in that we would have engaged a well drilling company by the name of Bede. They are in the process of mobilizing and expected to start drilling in Keyon in the coming, I would say, weeks and months. They would have just brought in a piece of equipment. Well, they brought in an engine as part of rehabilitating their drill rig. And so we expect in the coming weeks to see that piece of equipment in the Keyon area starting the well drilling process. Matter of fact, you will see it because it is the spot that they have first identified is right on the main road in the Cabbage Tree area. So that we are excited will start in the coming weeks.
My Straight Talk family, I was never excited about Bede. Never. But months, and that was August last year. But in March 2023, Congress Maynard promised the country that well drilling would have already started in Keon, my Straight Talk family.
With the extra well drilling in Keon, we are hoping that the last repairs are now completed or being completed on the rig to drill the well in Keon, so that we can add close to 500,000 gallons of water per day to that particular area. We're hoping, it has been quite some time in terms of the repair. Every time that they have done some repair, they find another issue because of the long time that the rig has been left abandoned here over the past couple of years.
They will find an excuse every time the issue is raised. Because I am still of the view, my Straight Talk family, that Bede will only extract money from the Jew administration and not water from the aquifers below the ground. This company, we are told, also extracted money from the Nevis Island administration in the amount of $2 million since 2017, my Straight Talk family. Do you believe that? We always bring you the evidence.
As I indicated publicly before, we had made a commitment to have an additional 3 wells done at a global cost of 10 million EC dollars back in 2017. In fact, it was in August of 2017 that we paid to a company called Bede just over 2 million EC dollars as a down payment. Bede has never come to do the work for the government. And so we don't have our $2 million and we don't have any wells. We have decided to take legal action against Bede. That is ongoing. So it has not been for want of trying in relation to water.
So Bede has done what it does best on St. Kitts and Nevis. It does not extract water. It extracts money. My Straight Talk family, bear my word. My other observation, my Straight Talk family, relates to the citizens who continue to speak out about the monkey money that was paid in December that Dr. Drew called a dividend. Straight Talk has learned that some people would like to return that money, especially since Dr. Drew has continued to lie and withholds pertinent information about the number of passports. And this caller to the Prime Minister never makes matters.
For persons who look at this to say, well, okay, this is not really a dividend that is given from the returns of, let's say, natural resources like oil or gold or diamonds, as the case may be. For those persons who might really have a genuine concern about the CVI, or as some would say, the sale of the passport or citizenship, they really have a genuine concern, because up to this point, many persons, or maybe the Federation, don't know how many of these passports have already been sold, if we have to put it like this. And there are some people, as much as the dividend is a good gesture, they don't particularly like this type of dividend. And they don't really want to have anything to do with it. But
they want to turn back in the money to the treasury. But my Straight Talk family, those are my observations in review for tonight. And I will hasten to embark on my short thesis for tonight in the event you have just joined me. It's entitled A Federation in Total Disarray. And my Straight Talk family, today is the first day of the 6th month of 2023. And we are 4 days short of the 10th month of an unforeseen journey to nowhere, it seems. Unforeseen, I hear you say. But just jog your memory, and I'm sure you must agree that no one anticipated that Team Unity would have imploded the way it did over 10 months ago. None of us could have ever imagined that the prayers expressed and the tears of a federation were shed in vain. Yes, it was in August 2022, as the coalition of three parties came to an end and a new prime minister emerged in the person of Dr. Terence Michael Drew, who spoke with optimism and gave us the assurance that we are embarking upon a new day and a better way. However, 10 months later, that promise is yet to be realized. In fact, in all of our communities, there is movement towards a new day. Yes, but in an unprecedented way. From the moment Dr. Drew assumed the office of Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Federation descended into a state of disorganization, so much so that at times our country appeared to be in total disarray. Talking from a point of ignorance, for example, Dr. Drew quickly declared the country was in the red.
We are in the red, dependent heavily on CBI, and therefore we have to now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable, but we are very vulnerable at the same time.
The country, he declared, was in the red. And weeks after that declaration, Dr. Drew announced on a regional radio station that money was saved for a rainy day.
You heard it straight from the Prime Minister's mouth. It's not a fake. All public servants will be getting a double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
My Straight Talk family, from early o'clock, we knew that Dr. Drew had no clue, because the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Henry Antoine, had already given commendation to then Prime Minister Harris and his team for fiscal prudence. And Antoine said this:
shocks will come. Many of them are externally driven. We have no control. So the question is, how do we best position ourselves to cushion the effects? One of the first areas that we really encouraged is building fiscal resilience. Essentially, it is what our parents and grandparents did. Set aside something for a rainy day. The sun may be shining, but it will not always shine. Rainy days will come. And so we have been encouraging countries, encouraging our governments to set aside something so that in a period of downturn or economic difficulty, the government will be in a position to spend more and to help cushion the effect on the people. I know in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government has some reserves and they have been deploying those in this period to help, and that is welcome.
Reserves. But the next thing that Dr. Drew did, Dr. Drew then threw the social assistance programs into much disorder and confusion. My Straight Talk family.
I use this opportunity to indicate that all eligible existing recipients of the Poverty Alleviation Program PAP are mandated to reapply by completing the application form by December 16, 2022. Failure to do so would mean that your payment will cease effective December 31st, 2022. I wish to notify the general public that the mending of the PAP will commence from January 2023.
The lives of many poor people in St. Kitts and Nevis who depended on this $500 assistance were thrown into disarray. My Straight Talk family.
It is not EASY. It is not easy. And do not be fooled. Do not let no nice show and no nice thing fool you. The $500 from the PAP, it is so helpful. I wish I could triple it up. It's so helpful. It come in so handy.
My Straight Talk family, thousands of poor people have been robbed of this much needed assistance, and they will tell you every day it has not been easy. Dr. Drew then introduced an housing program to construct 2 houses per day or 600 houses per year. But what? He excluded the poor people in this country who are in dire need, in the greatest need of shelter. Drew's disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin made it abundantly clear that the houses were not for the poor people. The houses were for those, according to his words, who were bankable.
It is not government buying the houses or NHC buying the houses. It's individuals buying the houses. This is the solution for persons who are bankable and can take a mortgage loan from a credit union or a bank, and they can purchase their 1-bedroom house for $111,000, their 2-bedroom for $213,000, and their 3-bedroom for $297,000.
And remember, my Straight Talk family, if you do not own land, then you have to buy land. Then build a foundation on that piece of land to accommodate these prefabricated Chinese fiber cement board houses, my Straight Talk family. And I'm not fabricating that. This is what Dr. Drew said.
With respect to the cost of the housing, the cost of the house is the cost of the house. But the overall cost can be affected whether you have land or you don't have land. If somebody has his or her own land, obviously it will just be the bare cost of the house. If you are getting land with the house, then of course you have the cost for the house. But if you have an added cost of your land, that can affect the overall cost. And it depends on how much the person would have paid for their land can influence at the end of the day the overall cost.
Houses not for the poor people. It is for these reasons, my Straight Talk family, though not exhaustive, and putting all emotions and politics aside, there is a consensus in the land which suggests that Prime Minister Drew, as a leader, has taken far too long to accept that the first responsibility of any government is to address the needs of its citizens and its residents. The country, it seems, though just about recovering from COVID-19, is in a messier place than it was 7 years ago. And most trends are heading in the wrong direction. The main goal of the team unity government 3 years ago was to save lives, and that it did. Although the country finally reported 48 deaths too many, I think it was, associated with the virus, but more importantly, St. Kitts Nevis recorded the lowest number of cases per capita in the Western Hemisphere. And that speaks volumes about its life first strategy. Remember, COVID-19 brought the entire world to a virtual halt. And that alone should have helped us to reconfirm that we live in a global village. Yes, we live in an era of globalization. We have become part of a globalized world that is considered as one global village, in which conflict is much more commonplace than cooperation. Great power rivalry is more pronounced than any other time since the Cold War. US-China relations have rapidly deteriorated. This is no doubt a consequence of increased trade and economic frictions and China's growing military strength, in addition to its more and more assertive foreign policy, as well as its possible invasion of or conflict over Taiwan. Climate change has already advanced. The world is already more than 1 degree Celsius warmer than it was at the start of the Industrial Revolution, and is on course to get warmer. The use of fossil fuel is on the rise, and extreme weather events have become more frequent. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is Vladimir Putin's attempt at stopping or, if possible, reversing the reach of NATO. The longer this conflict continues, the greater its global aftershocks would be. And let's not forget that it came on the heels of COVID-19, which stunted economic growth and killed so many jobs. It stoked inflation for both governments and consumers, and widened income inequality in countries like ours, where it has already distorted our national politics. The fact is, though, it is quite obvious that the impact of this war in Ukraine is global. There is a prevalent view that democracy is in retreat in much of the world, not just in dramatic cases such as Myanmar and Sudan, but also in parts of Latin America and even in parts of Europe. Haiti and Venezuela are essentially bordering on being considered failed states, as are Libya, Syria, and Yemen. And after Biden's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, this country appears to be on its way to once again becoming a world leader in terrorism, in opium production, and in misery. Here in the Caribbean community, CARICOM, there were also periods of much disarray, and our future looked uncertain, especially 3 years ago when Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, some pundits believe, improperly interfered in Guyana's elections process. The comments of Prime Minister Mayor Motley on a matter that was sub judice also created a firestorm across the Caribbean region following the 2020 elections in Guyana. There was further disarray when Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda publicly lashed out at Gonzalez and Motley in respect of the liquidation of Liat Airlines. Even Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt of Dominica, it was reported, was unhappy with what he called a betrayal regarding Liat and expressed a willingness to invest in Antigua and Barbuda's plan to purchase Liat Airline. But the rest is now history. Our region was even fractured further when Jamaica demonstrated that it was willing to go it alone without CARICOM when it hosted then U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Kingston. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, recall, excluded several of his colleague heads from that meeting at the request of Pompeo. My Straight Dog family, I have taken the time to present this empirical data to demonstrate that the world and our Caribbean region at some juncture have been in a state of being confused, and leaders have acted in the best interests of their nation. These events had direct implications for a few countries that are in various stages of what I call political transition. Think about it. Almost 50% of our current CARICOM leaders are what I call parliamentary freshmen. But this world is brutal and does not provide the luxury of political orientation. Prime Minister Drew, for example, only ascended to his minority leadership of the Labour Party in November 2021. And 10 years later, he found himself as head of our federal government. In football terms, it was aptly described by one of his constituents as scoring an offside goal.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
See, we're making excuses for incompetence. If Dr. Joe lives in Monkey Hill for all those years, no going in and asking me to support him, to represent me in my community. Doesn't he know the problems in the community? Or shouldn't he know? He had the answers. Now you're saying what? He just come and give them a chance when you are vying for office. When you're saying to the people you have the answers, the people give you the work. TDC would have turned him away. But it seems that really what happened is that it was an offside goal, the Labour score. So now the Ghani, the people seeing nothing happening. Monkey Hill Roads, water gone, can't get water. The representative move out the community, gotta live in the next community. No wonder the roads can't fix. If he was living in Monkey Hill still, living in constituency and driving on the roads, and he would know, and Miss Byron or whoever would have to apologize for incompetence.
Incompetence is a word we hear quite often. But Dr. Drew is a political outsider with little experience and got his job through what some people call fluke circumstances. The country hired a leader without any experience, and it looks as if we will crash and burn if something is not done right away. These are not ordinary times for my people. We live in a world that is filled with uncertainty, unpredictability, and it will not be business as usual in a world of disarray. What would it take for St. Kitts Nevis to avoid a future defined, by disarray? Which of the Labour Party administration's actions since the August 2022 election had the greatest impact on the current state of national affairs and why. A timely examination of St. Kitts Nevis will reveal that it is increasingly defined by disorder. The election of Terence Drew resulted in an unexpected reversal of critical social assistance programs that have helped so many families in St. Kitts and Nevis. Human trafficking, facilitated by our unprotected borders, has brought migrants from the republics of the Cameroons and Haiti to our shores. In addition to these concerns, the threats of climate change and other geopolitical issues make it painfully evident that this period in the 21st century will prove extremely difficult to manage. Murders have jumped to 20 since Drew came to office. 11 of the 12 murders in 2022 are gun-related. The last one involved a young man from McKnight who was gunned down, according to the ZIZ report.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is investigating the shooting death of 26-year-old Rashad Hopkins of Lower Tiber Avenue, McKnight. The crime was committed between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on May 27, 2023. Police received reports of the shooting incident in the Lower Tiber Avenue area and responded immediately. Preliminary investigations indicate that Mr. Hopkins was attacked by armed assailants and shot several times about the body. He was transported to the Joseph and France General Hospital by a private vehicle, where he succumbed to his injuries a short time thereafter.
Ironically, my Straight Dog family, with all these homicides, Dr. Drew has sent a contingent of police and soldiers to St. Lucia to help in their fight with its spike in violence. And we understand the need to help our CARICOM brothers and sisters who are experiencing a spike in their rate of homicides. But it is said that charity begins at home. Thus, we must ask if our human resources are adequate to suppress our own increasing rate, which now averages at 2 homicides per month. While charity begins at home is not found in the Bible, and I'm not a biblical scholar, but that proverb is so near to being so that based on sound reasons it can be described as biblical. The concept, therefore, that a man's family should be his foremost concern is expressed in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. And I like the New King James Version, which reads, and I quote, "But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." So my advice to Dr. Drew is very simple. Sir, charity begins at home. In this day and age here in St. Kitts Nevis, violence has become the foremost concern of every single citizen and resident. Armed robberies have become the order of the day. Look at what happened at Turtle Beach just last week. There is total disorder in the country as the fundamental rules that have served government since independence 40 years ago have seemed to become just ceremonial. There's a complete lack of transparency. The Drew Labour administration has a real problem of excessive secrecy. How can we have a real democracy when the operation of the government is hidden from the people? This blatant secrecy continues to kill public accountability and cripples the government system of checks and balances that are both essential elements of our constitutional democracy. For the past 7 months, reporters have asked Dr. Drew A very straightforward and pertinent question, which he has avoided and continues to avoid. A straightforward question about the number of passports that have been sold. And all he does is he tells lies in his response to straightforward questions, my straight family, like this one.
Earlier this year, the National Assembly passed freedom of information legislation, which the government said it was serious about. But while the legislation is not fully operational as yet, in the spirit of the legislation, the observer and the nation are still seeking the numbers as to the certificates of registrations the Prime Minister has signed since taking office, and also the total number of passports sold under the CBI program. Thank you.
With respect to, I think we discussed the numbers the last time, and I direct you where you can get the exact number last time. And that is why I want to ask, if you really want to know the number, I will direct you to the source, where you can get the exact. I would say that.
My straight dog family, every response the Prime Minister has given was with respect just a blatant lie. His problems with the truth have been growing, and citizen after citizen have all come to the same conclusion. A, the government conceals way too much information, and B, that hurts government's accountability, our democracy, and even our national security. A judge once referred to Douglas as a stranger to the truth. But Drew is just in office for 9 months, and he is worse than Dr. Douglas. And I could understand Dr. Douglas, who was there for 20 years. And I asked someone some years ago, what you think is wrong with Douglas? And they said to me, boy Patches, there's something called the power of incumbency. So what do you mean? So the power of incumbency may have made him believe that everything he did and said was right. But this freshman Drew just started on the job and apparently thinks he is the authority on everything. The nature of leadership continues to evolve. We are moving from authority, the power or right to give orders, make decisions and enforce obedience, from authority to trust. We are moving from hierarchy, a system of our organization in which people or groups are ranked above, one above the other, according to the status or authority. In the cabinet, the Prime Minister, you are just first amongst equals. My straight dog family, to lead in a world where you never know what is going to be around the corner is difficult. Being at the top is no longer about ruling with an iron fist. Leaders are there to inspire, not to make every decision. Leaders have to create the vision and provide the conditions needed for their team to perform and be ready for anything. The country hired a leader without any experience, and it looks like I said that we will crash and burn. Unless we address these matters, my straight dog family, with a level of maturity, then I am afraid that St. Kitts and Nevis will remain a federation in total disarray. That's my story tonight, my straight dog family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines and hear from you, because we are a federation in total disarray and we are all hurting. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think. If you disagree with the opinions advanced, then say it. That's what Straight Talk is all about. But I'll open the lines, and the numbers again are 663-6672 or 646-829-6672. I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. Again, we give you access as well via our email platform. The address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's again STRAIGHTTALKPATCHES@gmail.com. It's 9:11. With that said, I go to the lines, my Straight Talk family, and say, good night, caller. You're live.
Good night, Patches.
Good night, my brother. You are opening the button tonight.
Yes, man. I got so many things to say, but the time ain't here tonight. So I will leg the most recent important ones. Now, Patches, let me start first with the dividend that King Lawyer Jew has fooled the nation. You know, dividend supposed to come from the passport which belongs to the nation. Just like the man, the political backstabber in Nevis used to always say, the passport belongs to St. Kitts and Nevis, not St. Kitts one. And that's why he was talking about his fair share. But King Lawyer, he don't want nobody to know how many passports been sold or he signed up to since he take office. That is in this way. He won't go take dividend from the Social Security to the people. When the dividend supposed to come from the passport, it feels like as long as he say how many passports he signed up to already, people who are good in maths, they will definitely that what he is offering people and call it dividend, that is not the value. He ripping off people. And that's why some of those people decide to give it back. Because then that is not the amount they're supposed to get. So I agree with them. That's one. And White House Patches, Caribbean politician leaders in the past, years gone back. You do remember the airline Panam used to fly here from St. Thomas, St. Croix, come to St. Kitts just to assist us. And they never bump anybody cargo just to come St. Kitts. You come here and you, in minutes, hours after minutes, you get your cargo behind you. And these Caribbean leaders in that time, it was in the 80s, they listened to Liat. Liat asked them how they could have a foreign airline flying here, which is Panam, and it take away the passengers. Well, the leaders then yield to the Liat request, and Panam had to pull out and go back to America. And since that, Liat got the Caribbean island like a yo-yo round the finger. You're going to tell me you jump in a plane to come from St. Thomas to St. Kitts. The plane and pass St. Kitts, pass Antigua, go Dominica, drop off people, come back to Antigua, drop off and pick up people from Antigua and come St. Kitts and drop off who from here. Problems? Now look the cost. Our airline ticket from here to St. Martin. Now when St. Thomas were further. That's why I don't believe in no CCJ. Because the CCJ, too many politicians around and too many friends. Now let me go to the last one before I go.
How you jump from this Liat to CCJ though?
Eh?
How you jump from Liat to CCJ?
I'm coming to that budget.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, with Liat ripping off people. Now, Liat is one thing, one issue. But you see that case that you win, Mr. Gyat Wilkin, and he was the highest, what you call it, the highest member of the Bar Association. And you're going to tell me that the Bar Association, and along with the Caribbean Court, with the CCJ or whatever it is, they know this man, his position in the country, they know he commit a crime with the Social Security money, and then you win him, hands down, you win him, and up to now the local Bar Association discipline he, why make him sit down and get off the bar, much less he leader. Mr. Joe who talk about them are experts. You remember a lawyer from your town, he get in problem with somebody and the money, and the Bar Association make him get above the chair, get above the bar, and then the bar him, he don't practice no more. You know who he is, I ain't calling him. But what happened to this one here? Because he hear them straighter than the one from Newton. They afraid him because the name alone used to be big lawyers in St. Kitts. We ain't going to ease up until they do what is right, Patches. You have all the rights in your hand, and don't yield. Don't take no apology to lower the money that you owe you. Patches, I'll make somebody to do, because a lot of people got a lot of things to say. Thank you so long.
Thank you very much. Patches reads this email. Continue to defend the public interest in our country. We need you more than ever. In this belief, I am asking whether you are alleging that Attorney General Garth Wilkin attempted to prevent the Eastern Caribbean Court from publishing the judgment on its website. Is this the case? If Garth Wilkin attempted to prevent the publication of the court's judgment in the matter between himself and you, then I say he is completely out of order and he's bordering on being a menace in public office. Did the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association ever respond to your formal complaint against Garth Wilkin? Well, those are the questions being asked by this email, and no, they have not even granted me the courtesy of response. Patches, the NHC issues reads this other email. Is going on for ages, but this seems to be the worst ever. This seems to be the worst ever, beg your pardon. It is a sham, a shame, and a disgrace on the Jew administration, with the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, and the NHC manager, or anyone in this administration, build their own personal homes with this kind of fabricated materials and pay for the high costs entailed with a high interest rate as well? No, never in history, but they might take one or two to rent out for someone, but never for their personal use. They know of the consequences, but want right-thinking citizens to absorb their fairy tales and promises and sleep on them. But what they don't realize, many are wide awake and alert and not learning or not leaning on their nonsense. Patches, not all fairy tales begin with once upon a time, but if I am elected, I promise $1,500 and not $500. Bigger and better housing, roads better beaches, increase in minimum wages, raise in step money, new hospital, more jobs, revamp the program of laptops for school children, electoral and constitutional reform, fix the water issues, etc. We have to hold all politicians accountable for what they are saying, especially if they are elected. If not elected and there is a follow-up and completion of your promise, well done to you and thanks for your commitment. The Jew administration need to wake up and smell the bush tea, not the coffee, for many are suffering big time. Inflation has gone up overnight. Prices and fares of all types are high sky. Don't talk about goods and services. We may soon can't eat, but might just be cannibals in our own country. Like many may say, we got the government that we deserve, but this year more than entanglement, this year tangle up. It goes like this. Prime Minister Jew is PM of fairy tales, lies and promises. A.G. Wilkin is the AG and payback friend of PM of fairy tales, lies and promises. Excuse me. Miss Rollins is baby mama and ex-spouse of PM fairy tales, lies and promises. All of the members are yes men and women of fairy tales, lies and promises. As a people, we may deserve this government, but we deserve better than any nonsense placed in front of us. Entanglement, tangled web, or muzzled minds. Have mercy on us. Help us, Lord. Reads this email. My Shredder family, it's now 21 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. We introduce our program tonight and our theme, a federation in total disarray. What's going on in the country is the question being asked by everyone. But I'll dispense of these emails before I get back to the lines. Dear my Straight Dog family, let's take this call and then get back to the emails. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good night. You could hear me?
Yes, my dear. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Now, just want to say something. It's a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord for still life, as this is the beginning of the hurricane season. He spared us in many, and this will be no exceptional as we go through another season for the people and country. We put everything in His hands. What I have to say another time. And you must please tell me what time I have to call in, because you know that I can't hear you. But I try and I can't get in. Culture, good night. So anytime, you're 9:15 or 9:30?
Yes, you're good. 9:15 is good.
All right, all the best. Have a good weekend.
That good man hasn't bought you that smartphone as yet?
Who that?
That good friend of ours hasn't bought you that smartphone as yet? Do I have to get you one?
What about you? Don't bring in nobody and I'll bring you. But you have to sit down and teach me like I went grammar school.
Okay, my dear. Okay.
All right, then.
Okay, my dear. Have yourself a good night. Little boy Mark Brantley reads this email. Is your problem? You don't get all what you want. You are premier in one island and leader of the opposition in another island. A double position that makes you look stupid in democracy. Just imagine Harris and Sean in the assembly last week performing their role as opposition members. You, as the so-called leader, being paid a substantial sum for the office and insurrected, instead of doing your work, beg your pardon, for what you are being paid for, you're criticizing Harris and Sean, talking about the just grandstanding and pontificating. Well, Mark, what were you doing? Well, I'm telling you that you were just singing to Drew for your supper. 10 months now you're singing and begging Drew for a fair share, and you're not getting it. So don't take your devious frustration on Harris and Sean in the National Assembly, for Drew don't realize that you are a bad and orgy spender. Read this email. My Straight Dog family, you have just joined me, and we are looking, as I said, at a nation, a federation in disarray. In this day and age, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, violence has become the foremost concern of every citizen and resident. Armed robberies have become the order of the day. There is total disorder in the country, as the fundamental rules that have served government since our independence, now 40 years ago, have been turned or have become ceremonial. There's a complete lack of transparency. The Jew Labour government has a real problem of excessive secrecy. How can we have a real democracy when the operation of the government is hidden from the people? This blatant secrecy continues to kill public accountability and cripples the government's system of checks and balances that are so essential and are both essential elements, I should say, of our constitutional democracy. My straight dog family, when asked questions, the response of the Prime Minister is abysmal. He lies. His problems with the truth have been growing, and citizen after citizen have all come to the same conclusions. My straight dog family. This email reads, Patches, I heard Dwyer Astafan on a talk show this week trying to advise Pam on their leadership. Why does he believe he can dictate who should be the leader of the various political parties in this country? Tell Dwight to stay out of Pam's business and look after his own affairs at home. Pam is a party with a proud record and legacy. We have confidence in our current leader or whoever might emerge in the future. Long live Pam. Dwyer and Sam have already destroyed Labour and PLP and should now keep out of Pam's business. Pam and whosoever party join together can defeat the minority Labour government. Dwyer is all over the place. Just now he will abuse Dr. Drew the same way he abused Dougie and Timothy. Tell him leave Pam alone. Read this other email. This email, let me dispense of the emails, that are quite a few tonight. Patches, good thinking citizens are hoping to see some changes in the leadership of PAM and PLP ahead of their respective conventions. Even you, Patches, would be a good replacement to Timothy Harris in PLP. No one in their right senses would ever support Tim and Sean to be the next Prime Minister of this country. They have embarrassed and let down their supporters miserably. So many supporters are eating dirt because Dr. Drew's Labour Party believes that the country belongs to one set of people. It's time for Pam and PLP to be united again. But Tim and Sean don't even speak, much less to provide leadership in that regard. We need new and fresh leadership in this country. Reads this other email. Patches, I cannot believe, reads this email, that Sam Condor is being paid as an advisor in the Prime Minister's office. And if so, what is his salary? If this is really true, it would be a blatant abuse of public funds. Why should Sam Condor be back in government and serving on any government committee after being there for over 20 years and failing to achieve anything in his ministries and constituency? Sam also needs to explain to the country why he propped up a convicted drug lord for over 20 years while he was in Parliament, and now pretending to be a saint on his grounding program. Sam Condor did absolutely nothing for the village, community, and his constituency while in power. He was a dismal failure. He also failed as the Minister for Social Security, my straight talk family. Being the longest serving minister for that institution, his record at Social Security is also disastrous. Now he's back again, sucking on the Social Security and government breasts. Shame on you, Sam Condor. Reads this email. Caller, you are live. Hello.
Yes, Patches. Yes, Patches. So, officially, in the federal parliament, we have 3 members on the opposition bench. That is Timothy Harris, Mark Brantley, and Sean Richards. But Mark Brantley is only in that position on paper because physically everybody can see where he is. And I'm going to reach down to that. But let me tell the people, especially of Nevis, do not give Mark Brantley no chance to reign as no premier in Nevis. Get him out of office politically. Mark Brantley is what you call a political backstabber. He acts like a political snake. He was harassing the Prime Minister before him, behind his back. Remember when the Attorney General from Nevis, Patrice Nisbet, he was the Attorney General and he come down from Nevis, and Mark Brantley used to say, Patrice Nisbet go on and sink it. Hug up with Douglas them in Labour. What is he doing for Nevis? He's not representing Nevis in the House. Well, what is Mark Brantley doing now? He is in political bed with Joe. Everywhere Dr. Joe go, Mark Brantley there like a shadow. What is he doing for Nevis? Nothing. He stopped talking about fair share publicly. But when they get close, and in Dubai where they were riding on bike, where they went to ride on bike and taking picture, that is the time that for what is happening. They come on the radio and say that you want a fair share. From the passport, them like how we were saying it when Team Unity were in. I'm calling on the people of Nevis. Remember, Mark Brantley is a secessionist. He was one of the founders of the secession movement who tried to separate Nevis from St. Kitts, but they failed. And if you all don't believe he's a secessionist, a St. Kitts Calypso camps by the name of I South Sup. He went to Nevis for a Culturama Calypso show. And he win the competition. And Mark Brantley wasn't comfortable with that. He asked, who is I South Sup? Where he come from? That he could come up Nevis and win Calypso show. That ain't supposed to be. I don't believe that St. Kitts Calypsonian is supposed to come up here and compete in Culturama for the competition. No. Why should he say that on his one federation? St. Kitts people just go Nevis for Culturama. Hundreds of them go up there for that. Why don't he ask why they come up there to come make this street crowded with people? And also, Nevis people have a right to come down here and compete in the Calypso Chateau. So I'm asking the people of Nevis, do not vote for Mark. Don't let him fool you. That is why he's good for it, a deceiver. I used to be a constant caller on his show every Wednesday night. Me and Politics and Alice and Maisie. And he used to look forward to us to make a big show. And when he come down here for PAM convention last year, and he started to embarrass the people who were there attending the thing by cussing Dr. Harris and saying all manner of evil for a big man called himself the leader of a country. That is when I realized he ain't no good. He's a deceiver, a backstabber. And look again, Patches. He used to be with Douglas. And the same day when PLP now had the convention, he as a member of the Team Unity at that time, he should have been down here to give support to PLP convention. Instead of that, he was sitting on a bench, and Dr. Douglas sitting on the same bench, and the two of them just shot, leave touching one another. But that's show people. He ain't no good. Let him go. Patches, have a good night. I think I'm going to go back in again tonight. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Always a pleasure, my dear brother. Thanks for your interventions as well. Patches, good night. Read this email. I want to send Dr. Drew a strong message from all the Labour supporters who are still waiting for the $500 PAP that Jeffrey Hanley has taken away. We helped to put you in office, and only you and your friends are getting through. Well, Drew, we're ready for you, because lots of people play in Labour now. But let me tell you this, you will be a one-time Prime Minister, because we thought that you would be better than Douglas, but you are the worst thing that happened to Labour and this country. You up and down, grinning, flying in and out on every plane. We cannot get jobs. You're wicked to take away the $500. We're waiting. We are waiting, my straight dog family. Just now, in 5 years, just now the election. Drew, you got to go read this email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
That is good night.
Yes, my dear brother. Good night.
Yes, also I always want to thank God for the celebration. I think it means country we're born into, live into, and trying hard to do what is right and do for my country and whatever for my country. Because Patches, let me tell you something. I believe that the same man, Mark Brantley, he don't have no love for St. Kitts and Nevis people. Mark Brantley just about himself. I listen to him very, very careful, especially in Parliament. And he talking like he want to separate Nevis and St. Kitts. What Mark Brantley is trying to do? Mark Brantley is trying to mash up the federal government to give himself some more power to become the Prime Minister. He tell himself he can't become Prime Minister in the federal government with a PAM, Labour, or whosoever. So he's going to try and block up the federal, that they could secede from the federal government, and he come Prime Minister. Mark Brantley have no love for St. Kitts. But since this election done,
2022.
This election done. Patches 2023, yeah. I ain't gone to Nevis. And I do not think of going up to Nevis until Mark Brantley come out of government. I ain't going Nevis. I got some family members up there just like him. Just like him, Patches. They have no use for thinking people them. And just look how they have no use for thinking people. I have no use for some of them neither. I know Nevis got in good people. Because when the NRP was there, the NRP worked with Tom so great. Never had no money problem, never had no social problem. But because Dr. Harris campaign in the campaign with unity and it's a fair share. You understand? Mm-hmm. He want more than any federal government, as far as I can concerned. So I believe that that's what I see that, when I see things wrong, I must speak out in my country. But with the blind politics, I ain't got nobody to company with your country. But I know that Dr. Joe, you better watch him as the 20th year. Because he doesn't destroy, he doesn't about himself. He have no love for neither Nevis people again. And some his supporters about to be in some family members with him, just like him. Because they have no love for their own family down here.
Okay.
That is your government upon that. God bless the Federation of St. Nevis. And God bless you too.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. Politics. Thank you for your intervention. Let's go straight back to the lines at 21 before the 10 o'clock hour. Caller, you're live.
Greetings and joy.
Same to you, my brother. Greetings, my brother.
Blessed night to you. Blessed night to you, brother Patches. How did I going and how was it there?
Blessed night, my brother. Things went pretty good today, What about you?
Me, just coming out and having a gathering, so we're thankful because at least we're able to give the praises to the Almighty Creator. Yeah? Blessed night to your listeners via YouTube and Facebook, as you call them, social media gangsters. So we said love and joy to what you can indicate your information. I'm not able to know what you're discussing, but I have something that I would like to say on the context of how St. Kitts and Nevis move when it comes to our people as African people. I'm in a petition and a division. I'm in a come here to indicate any format that we are here at these kind of level. These are things that force on us as a call of Carnagos and all them kind of devilish name because of their own personal gain. Now we like to say something here in this context. The formality of this society that we call a society of system created by economics, we have a serious problem out here, especially to the poor upcoming youths them. When we look at the farmer of inflation that is rising on the ground right now, these public sectors take the advantage when they know they have since indicate a level of gain insertion from the, even as they call it, tax fee. Sometimes they don't pay full tax, and you know that too. And these people have the value and the economical structure and still want to carry up prices so rapidly and common man and woman without any notice. And these are, you telling me Commerce is sitting down and watching under that old cook, what we call a former prime minister, named Denzel Llewellyn Douglas. We really serious on here when it comes to development. My issue on here is that these crooked private sectors need to change the avenue of just alone economic, because the youth is getting greedy from where they gain mistrust from the politician them and all who are misleading them in giving them some kind of safety net when they're not for the youth them, they're for what they could get out of the youth them. It's time now we look at what we can do to safeguard our generation before we can see more confusion of words and our souls. I done starting and I'm not backing what's going on. But all I'm saying, this is the magnitude these cookie corporations is continuing doing as private sectors, they say they be. I mean, I call on you, I just speak 10 minutes. I mean, no, who me could call over, but me know you have a program you run in, and I'm not wanting your program to be liable, because I could take it himself. All I'm saying is time now to challenge these people and make them know this is not the way to go forward. If they're setting up a price, make sure we know how to be in this price setting. You don't want to have people coming in these kind of establishment, and when they think they got the right price and down to a cashier, the cashier giving them a different price when they know that bought of this price already. So you need to really formulate. So we are calling on the farmers and Mr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas. This is what I am speaking. It's time to just travel like you're a dolly and do the work for the people that you say you come here, come do. We know we had done it 20 years ago. That is what I would like to say tonight. The cooking system I had different around here. And thanks for the contribution for our celebration that we had for African Liberation Day. You'll be receiving that from ICE. So once I see, I will give you the letter of thank you, you know.
My pleasure always, my brother. As I am, always blessed love as well, always assertive, always quite passionate about the points he make, and that's perhaps what we need in many more people. Put aside the pretense. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. My lord. How is the Bible man tonight?
The Bible man, you will not answer your phone for nothing good.
Which phone now?
You think I know me, I call you?
Well, somebody's on the line, so I'm gonna put you on hold. But you know, I know you'll get it after. Don't worry.
I went straight to New York. I must get about much call by a lot of call. I had to come back to the local line.
Well, you're up to date with the technology, so you don't have to worry.
Okay, I can tell you something now. Today the first
of June. Yes.
And I am telling you, the Lord is looking over St. Kitts Nevis. And I can tell you something, Mr. Patrick. Whatever we sow, and what we're going to reap.
Yep.
And I can tell you something, you know. Cain killed his brother Abel. And Cain blood was crying out for vengeance. And in the Old Testament, I believe in Numbers chapter 35, it says, listen here, you must not mess up the country with the blood. The blood are crying out every day. And God sees it. And we need the country support to go down in prayer and fasting. Because we don't know what's going to come to this country. And I am praying and I am talking to God that God will hear and God will put in His hand, because that will ever. And so God is a merciful God, but God is true and for the earth. The last thing I can tell you, God judges the righteous, but God is angry with the wicked every day. And he said, if you don't turn, He will wet His sword. So, people of St. Nevis, I turn unto God. Just how the Nineveh turn unto God. So please, I beg you, let us pray and talk to God, because nobody knows what could happen. Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you very much as well, Mr. Bibleman. Always good to hear you. Didn't get a Bible verse tonight, but let's go back to the lines. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller. Are there, caller? Caller, you're live. Hello? Okay, that call is perhaps not really checking the phone. Let's go back to the lines. Take this other line. Caller, you're live.
Yeah, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Me again, politics again. Patrick, you know the reason why I said that Mark Brantley don't own about himself and he don't love the people of the Federation, I think it's Nevis. One year, one culturama. Some critician went up to compete in the culturama. That's why he didn't put me yet. I saw some pumpkin. And I hear him on the program, Lamblast, and I saw some. Some I saw some pumpkin and some think this is a Nevis thing. This is a Nevis thing. Now it's up here. Some I saw some near pumpkin. And I saw some roots, some older than he. I saw some mother, father, and everybody from Nevis. Ban division. You understand? And who does go support the culture, man? Every culture, man. Who does go support? A critician ain't got better than a culture, okay? And you want to separate the country, separate the federation, separate the country. Eh? Nothing to keep. If we don't go up there, go celebrate with in the culture, man, and take part in it, nothing to keep. They're going to be left on the beach. How many jam like Kayan, some community set. He'll be like up there. We got to go up there and boost the culture, man. Spend the money in the culture, man. So I don't have any problem. Okay. That's a big problem with Nevis and think it. Eh? In our opinion, we had a problem. How we never had a problem. He's a secessionist. And the Nevis people need to do something about it. Because he don't get he happy with the budget. He take them up happy with them. And they still come down and sell the strip of mango. I walk up and down Panny Wood. I sell the strip and the mango. And I sell whatever. I take chance still. Every the police got to ask them and tell them go down the market. You understand? He ain't have no love for the country, man. Me not got against the brothers and sisters in Nevis. But he as a leader, he do not like criticism. Totally. Patches, respect you, man. Respect the program.
Thank you, my brother. Yes, my Stray Dog family, it's 10 before the 10 o'clock hour. And for those who may have joined me for the first time, Stray Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the night time to 10 p.m. My Stray Talk family. Now, when you hear Dr. Drew declare there is no money in the country, reads this email. Believe him. He flunked constantly to allocate the money to pay the WASP company as it can pay its staff. I tried to wonder what is the meaning of WASP, wage adjusted spontaneously pattern. Drew is a don't care prime minister and he needs to be removed. Even government workers are having problems with their once upon a time money. Drew is a liar. So many persons are going to the doctor's office and the results are heart palpitation. People are not only dying by guns, but their hearts are affected. The doctor prescribed that whenever the PM is out to kill the people one way or the other. Drew, we need answers. St. Kitts doesn't belong to you. It belongs to all of us, my Straight Talk family. It was another country. If this was another country, Drew will be running for his life. He and his entire family would be on the run. Read that email. Let's go back to the lines. I'll call you live. Hello.
Hi, Patrice.
Hello.
Hi, Patrice.
How are you, my dear?
I'm good, and yourself?
I am peaceful.
Oh, I see. Oh, that email that you read just a while ago when the guy was talking about Harris, and Harris ain't good to be elected again. Who gave the poor people them money, an extra $500? Who put on roof on the people them house when the hurricane destroyed? Isn't Harris? Huh?
Sure.
He had two prime minister before Harris. Did they help the poor? Did they help the needy? No. Nobody had seen nobody need a help. First time I think his government ever helped the people and give them a little $500. Huh? Why they so ungrateful? Huh? Why they so ungrateful? Come on. Huh? I don't see no other prime minister like Harris. So I am going to back Harris. I don't care what they're saying. As long as God help me, my life, and he running in constituency 7, he'll be getting my votes as long as I'm alive. Thanks. You have a nice weekend, Patrice.
Have yourself a nice weekend as well, my dear, and support your Harris. That's your entitlement. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Hello, Patrice. Good night.
How are you, my dear brother? Jam down.
Patrice, I'm fine, my brother. Patrice, we on the street want to know how is it our government could get rid of a man was bringing in so much $1 million into the CBI, and we just dismiss him just like that water, and he gone down to St. Lucia, gone and an expo down there to meet his customers them where he had when he was doing such a great platinum job for us, and got a workshop tomorrow in St. Lucia to bring in so much money into St. Lucia economy, and a young government who said they could do better. And Lego, I'm not like that. I'm going to pack up with CBI after a long 10 square hole. It is great. Something wrong. Look at the country. Look at the economy. The poor people them is balling, the people them down at Portland, they balling, the business people them, they want to know if they don't come and shut off electricity, and you urge them to go down there like what you used to do. Send the manager down there when off season and try to negotiate with them how they could come in and pay in the door. That is something wrong. Something definitely wrong. We also want to know, Patrick, when some people gonna get back the $500 because too much people suffering. You see what's going on in the youth Patrick? You see the kind of job Dr. Harris was doing to this country with crime? You see a young man who comes and they could do better what they're doing? Saying nothing to a country to hold this country together? And the question of crime? Patrick, they don't care what I say, no. So what a young man over in the country do to this country, I ain't going to against him at all. I have seen where he came this country from and where he was carrying it. And I didn't think it's people to turn out to his convention. Go to his convention and hear his argument, hear what he got to say, and hear the agenda coming forward for the people that need it, especially the youngsters. Package, pack up and come because I will be there. Have a good night, my brother.
Have a good night as well. Brother. Jam down. Good night, Patches. Reads this email. I saw an article in the government that government is looking tenders for security at the hospital. Am I to believe that they are not satisfied with the present one? I was also told they don't have no weapons or even walkie-talkie. Reads that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Patches Liburd. I'm just calling to say our Prime Minister take away $500 from our poor suffering old people. Some people can't pay the medication, light bill gone up sky high, because some people used to use the $500 to pay the light bill, but they will bring in older man to give him thousands of dollars. That's all that because we got a wicked leader.
Short, but to the point, my straight dog family. And yes, the election of Terence Michael Drew resulted in an unexpected reversal of critical social assistance programs that have helped so many families in St. Kitts and Nevis. How could you treat poor people the way you do? Prime Minister Drew is a question we ask. Let me dispense of these emails. The Labour Party is there for a near year and has nothing to show. You know when you're doing something wrong, you have a decoy. Double D is one of his new names, Decoy Drew. Reads this email. This other email reads, good night, Mr. Liburd. All I want to know if the definition of transparency was changed in the dictionary, because this can't be transparency they campaigned so hard about. I was at Cotton Farmers recently, and even the blind and the deaf said to hell with Drew. He is too lie. Reads this other email. A friend of mine in the Ministry of Finance told me a security contract for JNF Hospital was given to WASP without any procurement at all. My friend told me that high-ranking members in the Ministry of Finance are very upset that Prime Minister Drew's government has given WASP this lucrative security contract without any procurement. The Ministry of Finance is upset because there is no transparency and accountability with this deal. Patches, Prime Minister Drew and A.G. Garth Wilkin accused the former government of giving contracts to persons without any procurement. Now look what they have done. WASP bought the security contract at the JNF Hospital without any procurement. Because of enormous pressure from the Ministry of Finance, the government was forced to announce this week that interested persons must make a bid to provide security for the hospital. Reads this email. Hello, Patches. You have painted a very gloomy picture of the healthcare in the Federation. Do the same conditions exist in St. Kitts as in Nevis? Reads this email. And this other email, okay, I think I read that before. Good night, Ambassador Patches. What do you expect from Prime Minister Jew in Cuba? You always study communism and Marx Leninism. In time to come, people will get their food rationing. It should be food rationing, the card. Jew is a communist. What else can you expect of him? Let's go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your life. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Patches. Mr. Patches, I'll call back in to say, integrity in public life gone to the door. Ask Dwyer about that. You preaching. We need integrity in public life act, and all of a sudden, the integrity gone in, and I don't know who is the head of the justice system. If it's a criminal or somebody else, I don't know who. You could enlighten me who in charge of these. Mr. Patches.
I read a section from a judgment, and the chief legal advisor to the government, Garth Lucien Wilkin, committed a criminal offense. Well, that's nothing. That's indisputable.
So who now is the head of the justice system?
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs is Garth Lucien Wilkin. Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. So everybody could commit a criminal offense and stay at the house. On to Dwyer. Dwyer used to say white collar criminals. That's what Dwyer called and not me. Dwyer. Have a good night, Mr. Patches.
Have a good night as well. The judgment, and you must read the judgment, my people. It's on the Eastern Caribbean Court's website. And it says, Section 45(1) of the Social Security Act provides, and I quote, any insured person or employer who fails to pay at or within the time prescribed for the purpose of any contribution which he or she is liable under this act to pay shall, for each such failure, be liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding $200 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months. The judge went on to further opine that a social security payment after the time prescribed by the legislation constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. And that's the opinion of the judge. And I concur with the opinion. So yes, the head of the legal department and the AG committed a criminal offense on more than one occasion. And that is found in the judgment. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
That is why I had to come back in, brother. I had to come back because I want the people them to understand that a lawyer is what the Lord hate. He hate a lot of things. No. When he went in office first, remember he said that the country wasn't financially ready. But he didn't show and prove that the country was ready. He started pouring. So this is what you call the cruising government. Every week they go away. And a load of them, one of them going. Look how many of them gone now. Gone up there to get conference to say what? Dr. Joe is just like when Douglas done with the sugar industry. And he paid the people them the short money. He can bring somebody from Barbados. So the man from Barbados going to teach the people of St. Kitts how to spend their own money. That was disrespect to the people them intelligence. And now let me see. Everybody have a right to their own opinion. But that email who said that Dr. Harris and Sean Richard ain't good enough to lead the party. I need to review what they say. Nobody ever helped anybody in this country here to fix the fence, never mind the roof. Some people house was so shabby that it could not be repaired. And so therefore, with the compassion of Dr. Harris as the Prime Minister of the country to those people, he let us build a little wall house for them, comfortable, because you can't put on new galvanized on a wooden house underneath. So when they say he wasn't a good leader, I don't agree with them with that. None of them. And Sean was behaving cool and quiet and patiently, and Sean would have followed in Dr. Harris' footsteps when Dr. Harris took come and he get about the seat, and he will say, Sean, there is your seat. So all those again who are about Dr. Harris would have taken 3 terms. He never once said he want 3 terms. Is people satisfied with the performance of Dr. Harris?
Okay.
Because he fixed labor, PAM, WAM, HAM, CCM, NRP, everybody looks so.
Okay.
He didn't say, well, he's a labor and don't do it.
Okay,
He fixed them.
got you, my brother. Got you loud and clear.
So anyway, thank you for this.
Thanks a lot.
Time short, but anyway, gone.
Thank
This
you.
time you're gone.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Caller, I'm out of time. Can you use 30 seconds?
Yes, sir. I want to ask you a question. It is true that the house that the government is going to build belongs to a minister brother-in-law. Could you find out that for me? And number 2, warn the citizens of St. Kitts that on the 1st of July, electric light will be cutting off wall in a raise. So let them know that Mr. Colton will be cutting off on the 1st of July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the way we're going to end it, my Straight Dog family, because believe it or not, I am out of time. My time is done, and I got to run. We looked at a federation in total disarray tonight. That was our short thesis. And there seemed to be no view at variance with that position advance, that our federation is in total disarray. And someone mentioned the PAP. And as I said earlier, the election of Terence Michael Drew resulted in an unexpected reversal of critical social assistance programs that have helped so many families in St. Kitts. The PAP is for one. They promised to increase it to $1,500. Instead, they are mending it. A nice way of saying they are ending it. Climate change and other geopolitical issues make it painfully evident that this period will prove extremely difficult to manage. Murders have jumped since Drew assumed office. Under his watch, 20 murders in 9 months. Yet Drew has sent a contingent of police and soldiers to St. Lucia to help in their fight with its spike in violence. Is that a good judgment call? Armed robberies have become the order of the day. There's total disorder in the country as the fundamental rules that have served government since independence 40 years ago have been discarded. There's a complete lack of transparency. The Jew Labour government has a real problem of excessive secrecy. How can we have a real democracy when the operation of the government is hidden from the people? This blatant secrecy under the Jew Labour administration continues to kill public accountability and cripples the government system of checks and balances that are both essential to our constitutional democracy. For the past 9 months, reporters have asked Drew straightforward questions, straightforward, pertinent questions, and he just lies. Every response he has given a blatant lie. His problems with the truth have been growing. And citizen after citizen have all come to the same conclusions, that the government conceals way too much information, and that hurts government's accountability. It hurts our democracy and even our national security. My Straight Dog family, this freshman Drew just started on the job, and he obviously thinks he is the authority on everything. But he must understand that the nature of leadership continues to evolve. To lead in a world where you never know what is going to be around the corner is difficult. Being at the top is no longer about ruling with an iron fist. Leaders are there to inspire, not to make every decision. Leaders have to create vision and provide conditions needed for their team to perform and be ready for everything and anything. The country hired a leader called Terence Michael Drew, who had no experience in politics, none whatsoever in management. And if something is not done quickly, we will crash and burn as a country. So I implore us tonight to address these matters I raise with a level of maturity. If not, I'm afraid that St. Kitts Nevis will remain a federation in total disarray. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the callers, all who send emails, and the thousands of you who listen. Remember, there's no Straight Talk without you. You are the ones who make Straight Talk, and I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd, and God's Spear. We will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until that time, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be moderate in the things you do. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light and thank Him for taking you to the night. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food